Hello and welcome to a new video. Today we're gonna take a look at Shadow XL Bastiodon. I actually have not seen a single person using this Pokemon on YouTube yet, but maybe I just missed it, who knows. But we're gonna take a look at this Pokemon today, and yes, we're going to have a bulky team around it. So yeah, we're going to have the Cresselia here and also the Lantern, as Lantern kinda serves as an option to get out those ground type Pokemon. And so we can take a look today on if you should invest into a Shadow Bastiodon. It's a very expensive, most expensive Pokemon that you can actually build for the Open Great League. And so if it's worth it or not, we're gonna take a look at this. We're gonna see the pros and we're gonna see the cons today. I think I could have farmed down the opponent here, by the way, but it is what it is. We can just knock them out anyway. But yeah, basically, it is an interesting Pokemon to play, for sure. There are some benefits. There are going to be also things that are not as great for it. And I have to say that here we're going to be able to win this first battle. But I feel like this is most likely the worst possible meta to play a Bastiodon in. Like, from all the metas that we had so far, great catch by the opponent here, by the way, and I make a silly mistake here most likely by going into my Lantern. It's very likely that they're going to have something in the back, like a Skarmory. I guess like then it's going to be fine anyway if they have a Skarmory in the back. But basically, out of all the metas that we had so far in PvP, I think this is the one where Bastion is the worst, because there are so many Water-type Pokemon, so many Ground-type Pokemon, and so many Fighting-type Pokemon as well, where the meta is kind of really against it. And then also Pokemon like the Broguiere, which you can see here right now, got an upgrade this season where the Awkward Tail is doing more damage, which is going to be super effective against us. So basically, what I have to say about it is just that this Pokemon itself is most likely going to be better in future seasons compared to nowadays season, because I don't think that Niantic are going to keep it up with all those water types. I actually called the line, which is kind of great. So here we can see the damage that we can go for with our Bastiodon. Another thing to notice here as well, my CP is 1482 and my Pokemon is not, it is fully maxed out, it's level 50 right now. But I'm currently best buddying it, and if it's best buddy, it goes up to 1500 flat, and that's basically why I built this one as well. So like, it's a really good rank that is best buddied as well. But the thing is, for this Pokemon itself, you're just going to not benefit as much from the Shadow bonus compared to other Pokemon. And this is due to the high defense stat. Like, based on the stats, this Pokemon is just not really going to be a great one for the Shadow bonus. So basically what Shadow bonus is doing is you're going to benefit by getting plus 20% on your attack and a minus 20% on your defense. So what you kind of would like to have with that is you kind of would like to have somewhere kind of a mid/bad defense and a pretty high attack, because percentage stat, of course, if you have a high stat, the percentage is going to matter a little bit more because you get more points on this. So here we're going to have a very low attack stat and a very high defense stat. So this is basically the opposite of what you kind of want to have if you are a Shadow. So Pokemon like, for example, Machamp or something like a Swampert benefit way more from it because they have a higher attack stat and not so great of a defense stat. And honestly, I wish that Hariyama would get like great moves or whatever. It's like charge moves, like something like special for it or whatever, because Hariyama actually has very decent attack stat, basically the same as Machamp, very low defense stat, but a very high HP stat, and basically you would not really lose too much of your defense with a Shadow bonus, but would gain quite a lot of attack with it. And also, some people sometimes ask, why do you even go for the Shadow bonus anyway? You can just go for a high attack variant, and you can call it a day, because basically if you go for like something like 15 attack, 0 defense, it's kind of similar to the Shadow bonus, right? Kind of wrong, because basically still the Shadow bonus only applies later on. So what you can get to is a higher level with a Pokemon. And so, for example, the HP stat, if you go for like a 15, 0, 15 or something, going to be lower than a 0, 15, 15 variant. So basically, you're going to still have less bulk with that if you go for that. So it's always kind of better to have a Shadow bonus compared to just going for a high attack, 0 defense variant of a Pokemon. Shadow bonus is definitely going to be the better play. But there are going to be quite a few matchups here that I encountered, at least with this Pokemon, where the Shadow bonus kinda was a pretty awkward thing to play around. Like, you already see how much more damage the opponent does against you. Plus, Pokemon, for example, like a Dugong, will be able to two-shot, you know, with a Drill Run, which was not happening prior. So you take quite a lot more damage, and it's very, very noticeable, and you don't really do that much more against opponents. So, why would you want to go for a Shadow Bastion instead anyway? Basically, there are some matchups where you're going to benefit from the Shadow bonus. One of them is going to be against Shadow Gliga, I think, where you can win the 2-shield scenario, which is kinda great for this Pokemon, but is it really worth it to give up a lot more other matchups instead? Most likely not. What I have to say as well here, of course, level 51 would be more ideal for my Pokemon, but I also looked at PvPoke before, and the difference between the level 50 and the level 51 was basically one matchup that you were able to win instead, and like you have like one more bulk point or something against one certain Pokemon that I don't think I ever encountered. So like basically the difference is not really there, but you see already here in this matchup against the Drapion how much more damage the opponent is doing. They can most likely 3-shot me with an Awkward Tail, which would have never happened prior. So you'd also see here that my smackdown damage is like not crazy increased either. Like this kind of looks like a similar one to what you would do anyway. And so I have to say, while I don't regret using my Stardust on this Pokemon just because I kind of want to have like all kind of decent Pokemon anyway, and like it's going to be great for some like most toxic teams or whatever, for some good content or whatever for me as a YouTuber, I don't regret like building this Pokemon. I think it's going to be fun for a lot of other metas in the future as well, so like I definitely don't regret building it. But if you're in a situation where you have, which I actually saw quite often in like comment sections as well, where you are in a situation where you basically have two different bastions, one is Shadow, one is non-Shadow, and you can only build one, go for the non-Shadow. Like I have to say, non-Shadow variant of Bastion is clearly better than the Shadow variant. Shadow variant is just a little bit too squishy for quite a lot of tasks, and so yeah, I was kinda, actually, I feel like this was the Pokemon that disappointed me the most so far, which is kind of wild, but like from all the Pokemon that I played in PvP, this was the one that disappointed me the most. Here, maybe I'm actually going to lose the game still because I tried to go for 2 Surfs, but I think the opponent still has a move start, do they? They do. If I went straight for the Surf in the beginning, I actually would have won this battle, which is kind of sad, but it is what it is. And we can move on to the next opponent. Still, there are going to be some matchups as well coming up, most likely, where Bastion is going to be kind of fun to play. It's still a very bulky Pokemon, don't get wrong there, but here, for example, great catch, by the way, from the opponent, completely random, because like I was already basically at, like it was already one over the charge move that I wanted to go for anyway, so I did not really expect them that they would go ahead and try to catch a move. But here we're gonna see as well, like a look at the health of our Bastion, and like it does not really do that much more damage against the opponent. It was not needed at all to take that much damage, but Shadow bonus really does not really help this Pokemon. Like again, I cannot recommend you, if you need to build one, to build this Pokemon in general, because it is definitely clearly worse than the normal variant of it. So definitely, if you can only build one, go ahead and try to build the non-Shadow variant. Here we're gonna see the matchup why I actually still kind of prefer to have Moonblast over the Future Sight. There are quite a lot of Guslots around, at least in my Elo range, so having Future Sight would completely make me getting walled by this thing. And especially as we have already the Lantern as our say-so to bait out something like a Gliga, I cannot rather go ahead and go for Moonblast here on this Pokemon in order to beat something like the Guslot, which you can see here. And so Crunch is coming through, that's fine for me. I can overfarm by a little bit and I can go for a Crunch, of course, for a Moonblast here, which is double super effective, should knock them out, and we will see them going back into the Lantern, allowing me to even reach another charge move. I can go into my own Lantern. That's going to be basically sealing the deal here. There should be a very easy game, as I just have to go for one Surf. They cannot even 2-shot me from this range, and so they decide to forfeit this game. Moving on, the next opponent, we're going to have a Gliga in the lead. Going to be a fairly decent one here. I guess Future Sight is a little bit better. I think Future Sight puts them into range for one Grass Knot afterwards, so it is what it is. But again, like, you're still going to be kind of fine here. You can still go for a Grass Knot. We can see it barely does, basically nearly puts them into range where another one going to knock them out anyway. They can use a shield here, as Dig is going to be the hardest hitting move from the opponent. I just want to get the opponent low because our backline really struggles against Gliga, so I'm definitely happy to just use a shield here. I can no-shield the next one, but I can also knock them out with another charge move, so we're going to be in a great spot here. This should be enough now to knock them out after all the fast move pressure we apply to them. And, oh, it's like one away and they can still reach another charge move, but I don't really care too much about it now. I can even not take this move. Actually, it did more than I expected, but I can go into my Lantern. And so, the opponent has a Lickitung in the back. I can try to catch a move here onto my Bastiodon as they decide to stay in, so they're most likely going to be weak against me in the back. So, what we can do is we can let this power whip go through, and we see already the matchup against Lickitung was like so dominant for us before, and now it's still kinda shifted around. The opponent can go for a power whip, and look at this, a Bastion after 2 power whips is already like close to red health, which is kinda something that is a little bit mad. I did not expect it at all. But here we can see also the nice thing, only 1 Stone Edge is needed to knock them out with a little bit of false move pressure, which was also not the case prior. In comes Scale Dirge and out comes the opponent, so let's move on to the second to last battle of today. Very bad lead for us, but we can swap out to get out a Trevenant. I feel like at this point, if you encounter a Skarmory in the lead, I would actually recommend you to go ahead and go into your Bastiodon. It is very likely though that they're going to have a backline of Trevenant and Annihilate, which is a very common backline with the lead of the Skarmory, so I'm a little bit curious here if this is going to be good or bad for us. What we can see is that this team is going to get core broken by Trevenant. I was hoping that I can go for 2 serves against the opponent, but I can't. And so Thunderbolt is coming through. I am forced to go into my Bastion now to just farm them down, but I have to hope that they're completely weak against me, basically. I'm still forced to use a shield here because Shadow Ball is going to be one of the hardest hitting moves, and let's see what they're going to have in the back. It is going to be that Sableye, and still maybe there's some chance for me to win this game. I can go ahead and go for a Stone Edge against the opponent. I'm going to try to catch a move maybe on my Cresselia, because Cresselia has no play against the Skarmory, but the opponent makes a great play, just deciding to go ahead and go straight into the Skarmory, and so we can only go for the Moonblast, which might be a little bit worse than the future side, but maybe we can go ahead and go for some D-Burst here, which would be great. Skytech coming through, going to get us low, but we still have a chance here. If we can farm them down with my Bastion, maybe I can reach a Stone Edge against the Sableye and win the game with that. But it's going to be an interesting one here. So you're going to get the attack drop onto them, which is going to be great for us. They kind of have to go for a Brave Bird here, I would say. But I decided to go for the Skytech, and so I can swap out. I still have a charge move stored with that as well. The opponent goes for a charge move against me. And here, again, I feel like maybe I actually had a chance of winning this game if my Bastion wasn't Shadow. But as you can see here, 2 foul plays are actually enough to knock me out, which is absolutely madness. And so I decided to forfeit this game, and we can move on to the next opponent. Final one for today, we're going to have a great lead and a Say-Swap, which we should hopefully be fine against. As said before, now thanks to the Shadow bonus, this is actually a matchup that might be a little bit better for you in terms of realignment, because you just have to hit 1 Stone Edge in order to realign yourself, and you can just farm them all the way down before 2 Stone Edge would have been more what you would go for. First Stone Edge here coming through already, and this is going to be perfect farm down range to get a ton of energy on your Bastiodon. And that's going to be amazing. We can let the move go through. They are not going to 2-shot us with Power Whip either, even though, of course, coming kind of close here. And so we can take another move, we can go for the full farm down, and we basically leave here with the lowest amount of health possible, which is kind of great, because now the opponent basically gets no farm, but I can still get some damage onto them, and the Stone Edge damage is definitely very solid now as well, as we're going to put them kind of into range for even a Grass Knot. In comes Tropius, and I decide to stay in here, of course, as the opponent has the Lantern still in the back, where our Lantern is neutral. Tropius, we kind of want to get an attack drop onto them, and so I decided to go for another Moonblast here. Let's see. Please get the attack drop again, this would be great. 10% chance, and we actually get the attack drop, and this is going to change the matchup quite a bit. I was a little bit worried here, I'm not gonna lie, but I feel like at this point this game is kind of over already. We can just go for the Moonblast spam. Our Lantern goes up against the opponent's Lantern. This is going to be able to get the final shield from the opponent, and so we can just play it out. I can let the move go through here even. I don't really care. I'm mostly going to keep my final shield for my own Lantern, but I decided to swap out here, and I can swap into my own Lantern as well, keeping the energy on my Cresselia. I just have to go for 1, I want to say Shadow Ball, for 1 Thunderbolt here against the opponent's Lantern, and we could basically put them into farm down range. I think this is going to be the way to go, but they actually still might be able to knock me out. Let's see here if they can still go for a Thunderbolt. They can definitely still go for another charge move here, which is going to be that Surf, and so they're forced to go for a charge move here with a Tropius, which they do. I can let this move go through. It's just going to be my Cresselia now, and 2 charge moves should be enough, most likely 1 Moonblast and 1 Grass Knot, and so we're going to be able to win this final game. Again, I would not recommend you to build the Bastion if you don't have like a great one, or like if you don't already have the normal one built basically. Normal Bastion is better to play in the Open Great League, and so that's going to be it for this video. Hopefully this was helpful for you, because I haven't really seen a lot of people talk about it, but yeah, that's going to be it. Bye bye.